the list item for that particular bulleted list. Further down, we have our selection tool, a hand tool for when my page gets full and I need to move my page around, a zoom tool that lets me zoom all the way up to 6400% if I wish, the size of my page as far as weight goes, so that what's 1K and how many seconds it takes to download, and it says that it's Unicode UTF-8, which has all to do with my special characters and how they're displayed on my page. So let's take a look at our Property Inspector next. Our Property Inspector has two buttons on it. I have an HTML button and a CSS button. Depending on what I have selected on my page, my Property Inspector changes to reflect the options for that particular element. At the moment, I happen to have some text on my page, so I see my formatting, I have an ID, I have a class, I can make a link if I need to, and just a few other features here. If I take a look at my CSS button, I see that I have a targeted rule for my LI tag, and I can always choose a new CSS, or I can see my cascade from here. I can edit a rule from here, and I can see my default font and the size of my element that I have on my page. Next, let's take a look at our panels and our workspaces. If you're familiar with other Creative Suite applications, you might also be familiar with being able to change your workspace. If we take a look at the top of our screen, we'll see that right now it says Designer, and there's a little arrow that has a drop down to it. If we go ahead and click on that Designer and change that to Coder, for instance, we'll see that your page changes to Code View and that your panels move over to the left-hand side, and you're able to see your Files panel more specifically. Let's go ahead and change that back to Designer, and we'll see that if I click up here, I also will see underneath all of my different workspaces that I can reset Designer, I have a new workspace, and I can manage workspaces. So let's take a look at some of our panels so we can see what things that we might want to have over on the side. If I take a look at my window menu, I have all of my panels available. So even ones that we have over there already have a check mark next to them. So for instance, if I'd like to see my behaviors, I can have that added over to my panels on the right-hand side. And if this is how I like to work, then I can come back up either to my window menu or where it says Designer at the moment. And I can pull down to Workspace Layout and New Workspace. And I can just name it. Say OK. And now the next time I make changes, this is available to me in my drop-down as the very first thing. So let's take a look at the panels on the right-hand side just to know what you have available to you, and then we'll take a look more in depth a little bit later on. The first panel that you'll work with on the regular basis is my Insert panel. My Insert panel, if I double-click it, I have a drop-down for Common, Layout, Forms, Data, Spry, In Context Editing, Text, and Favorites, meaning that I can make my own favorites. So just even in the Common tab, I can do simple things like hyperlinks and emails and a named anchor, etc. The next panel that we work with on a regular basis is our CSS styles. If I click on the All button right now, I actually have a style sheet applied to this particular page, and I can see my body styles and my paragraph styles and my heading styles. The next panel that we'll work with on a regular basis is our Files panel. Our Files panel allows us to manage our sites and see what files that we have available. As long as we work within our Files panel, you're going to be able to do much more in Dreamweaver later on. For instance, you'll be able to check your links site-wide, and you'll be able to make sure that if you move files around and move pages around, that Dreamweaver will help you make sure that all your links work properly. The Assets panel is a panel that we will also work with on a regular basis. It's a place that we can see all of our images, we can see all of our colors, links, flash files, video files, templates, and libraries.